Hello and welcome to the complete course of AWS SageMaker. Now in this lecture, we'll do a deep dive on SageMaker architecture, right? So let's have a look on the SageMaker architecture. So now, first of all, what are the things we need to remember in this? So there are three parts over here. One is S3 bucket, which is used to store the data. Amazon SageMaker creates a small machine. So if you want a small machine, it will create a small machine. If you want a compute intensive resource, then it will create a compute intensive resource. So it is basically an infrastructure behind your algorithm. And this ECR, whatever algorithm you are writing it, so we have a different training techniques, right? So we have a pre-built algorithm. This pre-built algorithm is stored it into a dockerized container format into an ECR. If you are bringing your own algorithm, then also you need to convert that algorithm into and push it into an ECR into a Docker format. If you are bringing your own Docker image, then also you need to push this Docker image into an ECR. So these three are the major component of a SageMaker architecture. Data would get stored it into an S3 bucket. We'll see it in details that before going ahead, we need to create a SageMaker notebook instance. In that, we will give what kind of a instance type we need to have it. So if you want a small machine, then we need to give instance type of a small machine. If you need a high-end computation, then you need to mention it. Then we will invoke a SageMaker Amazon SageMaker. So here, once this Amazon SageMaker notebook instance gets created, you will help to write a code. So the code what you need to write it is first pull the data from an S3 bucket, do some kind of a data pre-processing, and once the pre-processing is done, then what you need to do it, you need to pull the Docker container from an ECR and push it into a SageMaker instance. Once that is done, your training code is ready. You are ready to train the model. So once your model is trained, there are certain artifacts, right? So these model artifacts would get stored again into an S3 bucket. So here you have an S3 bucket. Now, if the business is satisfied and the approval is given that yes, these are the training model and you need to infer on. So here the second is a production pipeline. So for that, what we need to do it, we need to first deploy this model it into an endpoint. So I'll come into it to this endpoint. So all the artifacts are stored into an S3 bucket, and we have to write a code for a prediction, right? For an inference code. So we'll write a code for an inference, and what SageMaker instance is required for an inference that you need to also mention there. So there might be the chance that for a development your instance type would be different, and for production, because you are only making an inference, your instance type would be different, right? So now what this hosting script will do it, it will pick your training data or training artifact from an S3 bucket and also take a reference from ECR which model needs to be predicted. Also pull the inference code image from an ECR, and once that is done, it creates a whole inference code, and then we need to deploy this code it into an endpoint. Once the endpoint is created, now from the client application or from the SageMaker itself, you can call this endpoint and do the inference. You can do the prediction from your another applications, or you can do the prediction from the AWS SageMaker itself, right? Now, so as we have already explained that this in the SageMaker architecture, we need three components. One is an elastic container registry, wherein all the images of and a different version of images of a custom images or the pre-built algorithm is being stored. The second one is an S3 data, wherein your training data, test data, and the model artifact is being stored here. And finally, you need to create a SageMaker instance, which is like a small machine, wherein you need to download an image from an ECR into a SageMaker instance, and you need to again download the training data from the S3 to the SageMaker instance. Then based on that, train the model. Once the model is been trained, you will upload the model artifact into an S3, and this artifact would be deployed it into the endpoint. So this is all about a SageMaker architecture. In the next lecture, we will do the deep dive and do the practical how do we write a code it into a SageMaker. Thank you.